Hello, everyone. So I thought I would do an update on this appearance of signs that I think I possibly made a bit too challenging. I have not got a good lot of feedback from this. I've not got a lot of entries into this competition because, yeah, I think I made it too hard. And so with this, I want to maybe make it a little easier. I want to show you some of the patterns that I put into this and a few hints. So this is something I think I do have a bit of a knack at, and at the same time, it's not very satisfying for other people because I can't explain always what I'm doing, what I'm seeing when I see somebody's rising sign and can tell which rising sign they are. It's just something very intuitive. And I know a lot of you are going to roll your eyes and think, oh God, it's intuitive. But it's intuitive after many, many years of studying people's charts and meeting people and looking at them and reading their charts. It's just this thing that I've developed over the years. But it's also in text. Indian texts has a lot of descriptions of signs as well as planets that rule signs. So you can add them all together. And I know it's a lot more nuanced than I'm portraying here and with these examples that I'm giving you, because it's not just that you have a rising sign, you also have planets in its sign, perhaps your rising sign, and your rising sign ruler, that planet is somewhere in your chart also, and that's going to be affected by other things. So it's a very nuanced thing. However, I do think there are generally, and these examples that I'm giving, they're generally sort of signs have a certain look, and I'm going to just show you a hint at a few things here to help you along to maybe make a well-informed guess, I would say. So let's get into it. Just want to mention that there are 6 examples here, and one of them is the odd one out. And actually, each odd one out, so here's the first hint at the pattern I put in here, is that of all the 6 of them, the one that's the odd one out actually belongs to the next group, the subsequent group. So as you'll see as I go through this, so if we're talking about Aries and one of the odd one out is basically Taurus rising. And then in Taurus, one of the odd one out is Gemini rising. So that's the first hint. And that might make it easier. I don't know. Just to mention, though, that I have taken all of these times of birth from astro.com. They're all AA rated. Most of them are A rated. A few of them are A rated. So they're quite exact. And let's just get into it. So this is Aries to begin with. Now, when you look at all of these people, that's why my hint is just to think about them as characters as well. Because what is the rising sign? The rising sign isn't just how you look. How you look also says a lot about how you are. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that because you're literally displaying how you are by how you look physically. And I guess people, don't like that idea. It's like that cliche, don't judge a book by its cover. But yes, you can judge a book by its cover. We do look like how we are. And that's a fact. In astrology, our rising sign doesn't just show our physical body, it shows our intelligence, it shows our character, our temperament. All of that is shown by the rising sign. So yes, you look how you are. And that's why in India and in different cultures, they literally read faces. They read how you look, right? So anyway, all of these except for one are Aries rising. And what is it about Aries that gives them away? Well, they're going to have an intensity of Mars about them because it's ruled by Aries is ruled by Mars. So they're going to have a youthful appearance also, but a sharpness about them. They're going to have a ruddy complexion perhaps, or if not ruddy complexion, depending on skin tone and all of that, and skin color, that's the other thing, is that they're going to have something piercing about them. There's going to have to be something quite strong there with the Mars energy, the Aries energy. Aries is literally the first natural first house of, or the first sign of the zodiac. So there has to be some sort of head prominence. There has to be some, brow prominence, especially. Aries specifically rules the head and the forehead. So oftentimes it's described as a very prominent brow, for example. But there's definitely, I think, a sharpness about them. There's a youthfulness about them too, because they're ruled by Mars, and Mars generally represents someone who looks youthful, especially if Mars is rising in the person's chart. But even without that, Aries has that. I think what I see oftentimes, isn't described in text anywhere. This is just something I've noted over the years. Yes, youthful appearance is described in text, but high cheekbones, sharp jawline. I've noticed that. Piercing eyes, or just very striking eyes, or something strong and prominent. Now already you're going to start to see that, well, don't all of them have that? Yeah, except for one. One of them is a softer quality, and even the photo that I put in is softer in quality. And again, remember I said that the one that's the odd one out belongs to the following group, the Taurus group. So hopefully that will help you decide which of these is not Aries. The next one is Taurus. Taurus is softer. Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's the earth sign of Venus. So there's going to have to be something either, pretty or handsome. Oftentimes women actually can be more handsome than pretty, but certainly men can be more handsome. There certainly is sort of, and an obvious example here, if I just use Burt Reynolds as an obvious sort of, Taurus, even the photo that I put in, it's like that kind of bull type, sort of very stocky build. But women, as you can see here, can be pretty. And so there's obviously good looks, there's a charm about them, but also there's a kind of, again, I'm saying handsome, but it could be just a solid sort of very good looks. It's not as delicate as Libra, for example. When we get to Libra, you'll see the difference with Libra. But Taurus is kind of more earthy, you might say, or something like that. So hopefully that will help you. One of these is not, one of these is Gemini ascendant. So Gemini themselves, you could say, because ruled by Mercury, they have a youthful appearance, perhaps. But there's also maybe something like cherub-like about them. There's something, again, think about it. It's not just looks. It's about temperament. It's about character, and literally characters, playing characters. I mean, I know all of these people, nearly all of the people I've chosen are actors anyway, but let's for certain talk about actors for Gemini, because Mercury is all about acting, mimicking. But there's something childlike and cherub-like about Mercury and Gemini. So they might have a slight snub nose, for example. Jack Black is an obvious example. I'm going to give you that one away. Okay, he's definitely Gemini rising. Okay, he's got a snub nose. He's very playful. He's very youthful. He's got a big body, but his facial features, he's very, very mercurial, very Gemini-like. So you can see the Mercury in these characters. Let me put it that way. One of them is not. One of them is Cancer. And Cancer has a different vibe altogether. So that will hopefully help you with that one. Cancer has obviously the vibe of, it's softer, it's more round, it's more moon-like. Look at these moon faces. Like practically all of them have these moon-like faces. If you look at these actresses, Marilyn Monroe is a typical Cancerian in many ways. Just very moon-like. Even when you think about the moon and its kind of softness and its glow and the color, even, it's moon. One of these is not. One of these is Leo. And this is, I would say, skirting on, this is maybe more challenging. I think all of these, by the way, are challenging. I'm not saying this is an easy quiz, but it's getting you to think about these different, again, not just facial features and body, but also character, temperament. One of these is more fiery. One of these is Leo. So you're going to pick out one of these people who is more fiery, and that will hopefully give you a good hint. And not just fiery, but Leos are very much in command, and they command a space. So if you can pick out that from the previous one, you can certainly pick it out from these ones. Nearly all of these ones, because one of them, remember, isn't. One of these is going to be a Virgo. But all the rest of them are going to have this kind of commanding appearance. Like when you think about Leo, it's very dramatic and it's very sort of bold, and and the difference, I guess, between Leo and Cancer as well is that Cancer tend to be physically top heavy generally, whereas Leos kind of tend to be rounder and kind of lower. When you even think about Leo as the sort of lower solar plexus, the sun, as opposed to Cancer and the moon and the heart, the chest, upper chest. and as opposed to the lower, and then the solar plexus. So when you think about that, that might give you a good hint. Of course, not everybody, depending on their rising sign, the planets there, and where that the sun is in their chart, will express it differently. But Donald Trump, let's face it, he is the most obvious example of a Leo ascendant. He's just got that kind of, that appearance. He's, even if he didn't have, the blonde locks and the reddish hue, the kind of commanding voice and stature and all of that, you would just, you could just see it in him. And most of these, like I said, except for one, which is Virgo. Now, Virgo is let's go back to Virgo. So Virgo is a bit trickier, and in a way, most of the time when I don't know what someone's sign is, it's almost like by a process of cancellation that I arrive at Virgo. Virgo, it has a look though. There's definitely a look you can actually see in most of these people. There's a kind of, it's again mercurial, but there's an earthy kind of mercurial sort of nature here, and a kind of innocence in a way. There's definitely a childlike. Doesn't matter what characters these are playing, there's a childlike kind of nature that all of these people have. And there's an innocence, there's something pure, and Kate Winslet is the most obvious, typical example of a Virgo rising. She's just very, that kind of very pristine in a way. There's something pristine, something childlike, something innocent, something like that around them. I generally see, as you can see, the chin here for all of these people is very pronounced, is another aspect. But one of them is Libra. One of them has more a refined look, you might say, and this is Libra. So all of these are very obvious Libras, except for one. And so they have this kind of very refined, beauty and all of that. There's something more broad about their face, in comparison to the Virgos. There's something more, you might say, more balanced, because Libra is all about balance and refinement. It's again, Venus ruled, but again, balance is the key thing here. There's definitely something balanced more. You can see it in these actresses. I mean, that's giving the hint away now. All of the top 3 actresses here have that kind of Libra balance and a symmetrical look. But one of them isn't. And so they're going to be Scorpio. So see if you can pick out which is Scorpio. And Scorpio itself, they are going to have more intensity about them. Not just again in their look, because we look like how we are. There's an intense look. Maybe it's a sharpness. Maybe it's a sharpness in the eye, a depth in the eye. Maybe it's a sharpness in the features. Maybe it's whatever it is. There's a kind of intensity, and they have that look in their look. And you think about Jodie Foster is a typical Scorpio example. She has that kind of intense, sharp look that, really gets in there. But one of them is not. One of them is Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is different. So Sagittarius has a more expansive, broader, wider look. Let me put it that way. They're generally a reddish hue as well. It's a fire sign, but there's something bigger and something bolder in a way about them, because they're ruled by Jupiter, not by previous Scorpio, which is Mars. So there's something broad, there's something expansive, there's something open as well. It's just their faces. When you think about, look at their faces compared to the Scorpios. If I go back to Scorpios, there's something about Scorpio that's kind of sharp and kind of focused in their features, whereas Sagittarius is kind of open out. That's literally the difference between Scorpio focused in and Sagittarius open out. But one of these, remember, is a Capricorn, and it's not going to have those kind of open, expansive features. So Capricorns tend to be kind of more, it's ruled by Saturn. So we're the first Saturn sign now. And so there might be something more solid or more structured, or more, there's something more in a way that I feel like is with Capricorns, especially, which we don't see for the next Capricorn or the next Saturn sign, Aquarius. There's something more open about them. There's something, I'm not going to say closed, but there's something that kind of can feel very structured about them. Again, it's in their looks, it's in their character, it's in the way they operate. Don't just think about it as their facial appearance or body. It's going to be in how they present themselves. There's going to be something kind of very structural about them. Except for one of these, which is more open, which is more the Aquarius. So Aquarius here has a kind of, there's a definitely a look with Aquarius, and it's in their eyes, essentially. Oftentimes their eyes can be a bit slightly look like they're a bit offset or something, or there's something, one eye off, it's not off, like not like cross-eyed or anything, maybe the opposite of cross-eyed. It's kind of like there's something opens out in terms of their visual field. And that's very much Aquarius. I mean, Aquarius is that kind of open, looking two directions in a way. This kind of very mystical look as well, you might say, but that kind of comes in more to the next sign, Pisces, which one of these is. But it's definitely sort of this kind of, it's very hard to describe it, but we can see it in most of these people's eyes, essentially. I'm going to draw your attention to their eyes. Let me give you it straight. Adam Driver is a typical Aquarius. There's something unusual also about their look. And that can express itself in very different ways. But again, there's something in the eyes, and just look at the eyes to get an answer here. And then again, one of these is not, it's Pisces. And so that's the last one. Pisces has, definitely there's a softness about them. There's, again, in the eyes, you can think about the eyes, but there's definitely this Piscean softness, this kind of empathic sort of, look. There is also the eyes, because of, like, when you think about the fish, the symbolism of Pisces, if you look at that in terms of the eyes, in terms of the features, in terms of the openness and the softness, but the expansiveness as well, and the mystical nature of them, it's kind of like losing yourself in their eyes in a way. But one of them, remember, isn't. One of them is going to be the next one, which is Aries. So I put in an Aries here as the next rising sign. So one of them is going to stand out as a more kind of Aries kind of fiery sharpness, whereas the other ones are going to have a softness, and not just, again, in their face. It's going to be in their character. It's going to be in the way they present themselves. There's a softness, there's a sensitivity, and even beyond sensitivity of, for example, Cancer, there is a sensitivity that goes into kind of more mystical realms even. And how does that express itself in someone's face? Well, it does. And so you just think about that in terms of how they look. So those are all the signs. I hope that's helpful, because I know that, this isn't easy. At the same time, it's a really good exercise in understanding the different expressions of not just the physical, but also beyond into the more, again, character, temperament, maybe even beyond that, and think about this in terms of how does your soul express itself through your features, through your body and face and your eyes, all of these things. It ain't just physical. So I hope that's been of help. If you need any other help, I think I've given enough hints there though, but if you need any more help, please let me know. Please post below. And we have the 15th of August to get these answers in. And the prize is a copy of my book, Cosmic Bodies, which is all about the body, the physical and beyond, mental and physical, because in Ayurvedic astrology, it's all about the mind-body type, not just body. And that's why, again, it's not just physical, it's mental, emotional, physical. It's all encapsulated in our form, our prakriti, as they would say in India. So get your answers in before the 15th of August, and I'll announce the winner on the 16th. And best of luck. Okay, until next time.